Hello and welcome to the very first Loresworn Order stream of Imperator Rome, the brand new strategy game from Paradox Development Studios, set in an era that I am a fan of myself. I'm not a fan of Rome, specifically, as you may be able to tell by the name of the video, or the fact that I have painted my face blue, or the giant barbarian tapestry behind me. One of those clues probably should have tipped you off. I am TJ Hafer. I am the host of Loresworn Gaming. We are going to be playing as the Helvetii, who are a Gaulish tribe from around the region of modern-day Switzerland, the Alpine region of Europe. I was, of course, inspired to do this by the album Helvetios by the band Eluveitie, which is one of my favorite bands and favorite albums of all time. It's basically like an hour of folk metal that tells the entire story of the Gaulish Wars from the Gaulish perspective, also known as the correct perspective. So we're going to try to hold off the tide of Rome in this series. What's up to everybody in chat? New people, returning people. It's been quite a while, but I think now that we're actually settled in here and we actually have a studio, I mean, you'll see more of it at some point, I do want to commit to saying that we are going to be doing at least one stream a week from now on. It's probably going to be around this time on Thursdays. Some weeks we might do Wednesday, but it's always going to be probably 10 a.m. Pacific on Wednesday or on Thursdays. Maybe Wednesdays if I have something else going on a Thursday. But I do want to commit to that. I kind of want to pivot more to streaming versus doing pre-made YouTube stuff, but we will still be doing some lore videos and stuff associated with these series. It makes more sense, it seems like, that if we're going to have hours and hours of gameplay people have to keep up with, you know, you should at least be able to hop on chat and interact with us. Let's see, I'm just checking on the chat real quick. Valorgain, of course, who is our resident Discord Romaboo, wants to know why I hate civilization. We're actually going to be talking about why Rome did not have a monopoly on civilization, and the Gauls were actually probably more advanced than certain sources, like Caesar, might have given them credit for, because it served his political agendas to present them in a certain way. Yeah, this is going to be a semi-roleplay stream. I mean, it's tough in a game like Imperator. I've played about 50 hours of it so far. I'm working on the review for IGN, and there's, you know, it is a map painting game. There's not a lot of depth in terms, yet at least in terms of, like, you just want to play like a Care Bear run or something like that. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of warfare. There's going to be a lot of conquering to some degree. It's like, you know, we're either going to die heroes or live long enough to see ourselves become the villain. But this is definitely something I want to emphasize with Loresworn more in the future, is what exactly it is that makes us different from other Let's Play channels that you might watch, other strategy streamers you might watch. And that's that we're not really about optimizing everything. We're not really about just panning around the map, clicking on it, and making jokes. What Loresworn is really about, what a Loresworn stream is really about, is that we want to put you in a place. We want you to imagine yourself maybe as one of these Gaulish warriors. Maybe you're you know, a young adult of maybe 16, 17 years old, and you're marching off to fight. For the very first time, you've trained with a sword, but you've never really seen battle before, and these foreign invaders are making their way into your homelands, the places you've played as a child, the places you've gone climbing with your cousins, the places you've chased the sheep through the fields, the only home you know. And these foreigners are coming, and the chieftains have called up everybody who can fight. It's your responsibility to defend this place. You've heard all kinds of crazy rumors about them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what's true and what's just myth. All you know is that they're coming and they want to take what is yours. And don't know how you'll react the battle is actually joined. You don't know if you will find your bravery or if you might just completely shut down in the stress of the situation. But your uncle, he slaps a hand on your shoulder. He's got scars from multiple battles with other tribes, and he tells you, as long as you stand with us, as long as you stand with your tribesmen and show courage, we will make it through this. You're not sure if those words give you any comfort, but it's all you really have. And those are the little stories that we want to share. We want to take some breaks, we want to pause, we want to zoom in on this world, which Imperator has actually made it very literally easier to do that, as we can zoom in quite a bit and even do crazy shit with the camera. What? Actually, I found out you can do this in EU4 too if you plug in a controller, but it's possible just using the mouse in Imperator, which is nice. That's what we are. That's what our brand is. That's what, why you would watch this versus something else, is that we're going to zoom in and we're going to tell those little stories. There's a lot of AARs that focus on the high politics and like how the game mechanics tie specifically into, what might actually be going on as far as like machinations of nobility and stuff, and there will be some of that. But we also want to tell stories, original stories, that are not necessarily about these guys. The clan chiefs are obviously going to be important, but like, who are the people down here that are actually, making up the fabric of history, not just the people at the top that books get written about? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? What kind of experiences might they be having in the midst of all this scheming and war? That's what we're about. So, as we continue to stream Imperator and other games, you can expect us to take that kind of tack. You can expect me to put the game on pause and oh, I just realized that I haven't got my scene switching micro down quite yet. So yeah, here's that camera trick I was talking about. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. I need to get a little bit quicker on the uptake with that. Yeah, so that's kind of what this is going to be about. We are playing as eventually we're going to be playing as the Helvetii. They are not represented actually in the start date of Imperator as a single tribal confederation. They're a culture group which includes the Allobroges, who are traders. So I'm a little bit wary about that decision on the part of the content design. No, so there's actually there are 3 tribes that are part of the Helvetic Confederation that are mentioned in Roman sources, which is going to become a meme because a lot of as I talk about the history of this era, you're going to hear me say in Roman sources. So yeah, the Verbigeni were one, the Tugeni were one, and the Tigurni were one. They supposedly had either 4 or 5 tribes that were kind of part of their larger confederation by the time Caesar was dealing with them. The names of the other ones are kind of lost to us, unfortunately. We're going to be playing as the Verbigeni. They start out on the northern shore of Lake Geneva here. And our goal, our starting goal is to unite the Helvetii under one banner, which requires us to own all of these lands right here. Meaning we're going to have to kind of subjugate the Tugeni, the Tigurni, and go to war with the Allobroges, who are one of the strongest tribes in the region. Historically, they became a Roman ally around, I think I want to say like 126 BC. I did a quick refresher on this last night, but I could be getting the dates wrong. Dan Carlin would say I'm not a historian, I'm a fan of history, so not everything I say is going to be completely accurate. So, after 50 hours of Imperator, where do we begin? Very similar to EU4, I usually try to just go through all of the top menus and make sure everything is in order first. So the first thing I'm noticing here is we have a province that's at 100% loyalty, and they're on the local autonomy governor policy. That's not good, because the only reason you would ever want to run this policy is if the province is in danger of an open revolt. So we can increase our tax and commerce income at the expense of having to pay the governor more, which that kind of depends on... I mean, currently we're the governor and we have 0 corruption, so that's probably fine. If you have a really corrupt governor, that might be a bad idea. Religious and cultural conversion, obviously, we don't need to worry about because we're a homogenous society at this point. Bleed them dry is just if you want to be a dick. Borderlands would be kind of... We might end up using that on some of our border provinces with patents. Let's see. Level 39 nerd wants to know what's this BC you're talking about. Yeah, the Ab Urbe Condita dates are not something I've gotten used to yet. Although we were having a discussion about this on the 3 Moves Ahead Discord, and what I actually pointed out is like the reason that this needs to be the standard date is because this is a sandbox game, so Jesus could be born in a different year than he was historically, and then AD and BC wouldn't make sense. So what I think should happen is once we get DLC that extends the timeline that far, it should be like, yeah, there should be a Birth of Christ event at some point, and then that will switch the calendar over. But you can mouse over it to see how it matches up to our timelines, AD and BC, if you want to. Yeah, original names of most of these tribes are largely lost, Andalicious points out. Yeah, I Lowercase Rose talking about how they've like used this kind of later naming scheme where they turn everything to make it sound like a country, like Arvernia instead of Arverni, Biturgia instead of the Biturges. For some reason they left the boy how they are, but I think that's just because boy is a meme. Honestly, I think that's the only reason they did it. But yeah, most of these would not be what you would think of as a nation. Certainly not in the modern nation-state sense. These were territories that were controlled by tribes. The borders were actually somewhat fluid, which isn't something Imperator models. You still have to negotiate military access, kind of like U4, where I feel like the Crusader King's method of you can just kind of walk wherever you want would make a little bit more sense, because there's a lot of records of like tribes moving to settle in the lands of other tribes, and then that causes disputes, and you know, in this game the only real way you can do that is to declare war on them. I'm glad you appreciate the hair, Commandalicious. Let's see. Yeah, Birth of Christ event in no way controversial at all. Okay, so back to figuring out what we're going to do with our government. For those of you that tuned in for game mechanics and not RP and a history lesson, which honestly, if you're a Loresworn fan, I'm not sure how many of you that actually applies to, but I know there are some. So getting an extra import route in our capital could be huge, because this is the thing I've found about playing as a tribe, whether that be in Gaul or even out in Dacia. Heavy infantry are really good. If you have them and your neighbors do not, you have a huge military advantage pretty much every encounter that you find yourself in. Which John Bolding, who you may know from the 3 Moves Ahead podcast, when I made that comment in Discord, he was like, isn't that basically Caesar's commentary? Like, yeah, heavy infantry are really good if you have them and your opponents don't. You're in good shape. So, we definitely want to get a source of iron. And let us see if anybody is willing to trade iron with us. Yes. So we can get them from the Carnia, who I believe might be the Carnutes? No, they're way over there somewhere. I'm not familiar with that tribe at all. But they are willing to trade iron with us. So, since we're able to get iron, we'll be able to build heavy infantry, so I don't think we necessarily need an extra trade route in the capital right now. That's definitely something to consider. A lot of my provinces end up on encouraged trade later in the game. I guess if we really wanted to min-max, we could work grain or something, but we're probably going to need just the raw tax income to support a bigger army. see. Oh, social mobility. It's kind of weird. I haven't messed with it much. And the civilization effort we don't want right now, because that makes tribesmen unhappy, and a lot of our population currently are tribesmen. We have tribesmen are our biggest cohort, followed by slaves, and then freemen, who, in a Gaulish context, at least what we know from Roman sources, these would probably be what the Romans referred to them as equites. Would probably maybe think of them as knights. In a modern context, they were an equestrian warrior class, basically. Not too dissimilar from the role played by medieval knights or even like samurai. I mean, there's a lot of differences in the detail, but you know, the population system is like the people who work, the people who fight, the people who rule. Citizens in the Gaulish sense would be either nobles or possibly druids. Druids are another thing that, you know, we know a little bit from Roman sources, but we don't actually know a whole lot about them. A lot of what you've probably heard about druids are either from Neo-Druidism, which is a valid modern religion, or, you know, bits and pieces of just, like, apocrypha of what people thought druids were, because they thought it was a super cool concept. So, long story short, we're going to go ahead and put our governor on acquisition of war, because we need that money to support our armies. Tribal armies, if you haven't watched any other Imperator streams yet, there have been quite a few. Basically, they're owned by the clan chiefs. So we have the clan Tautali, the clan Amboni. They each have their retinues, which are led by their clan chief. And then we can build our own personal. Well, we have three. Yeah, we have 3 clans, and one of them is the ruling clan. So we pay reduced upkeep on these guys, but also if the clan chief becomes disloyal, they can F off with their army and possibly even start a civil war. We're losing loyalty on both of these guys, but it's such a slow speed that they might be dead before it becomes a problem. But we'll definitely work on that if it gets low enough to cause for concern. Let's see. I almost always take herbalism first, just because tech speed is cool. My first invention. Calling down an omen. I like the population growth one. That's kind of my default that I use most of the time, unless I'm going to war, and then I'll switch to discipline. We're gonna have it on pop growth first a little bit here while we're getting ready to build an army. So let's tick by a month and just see what our income looks like. Chariots. I don't really use chariots. The Gauls, as far as I know, didn't really use chariots. They give them to all barbarians when it was really mostly the Britons that used them in this era, as far. So the Salassians want an alliance. Let's see. Defensive league with the Insubres. I think we can accept that. That's wise. They do have iron, I believe. Is that them? No one else around here has iron besides the Alabroges. I forget. Oh, it's these guys. Taurinians. They also have iron. No, we don't really need to conquer them anytime soon. So alliances. All right, 323. Figure out what our composition is going to be. I do want to have sort of a heavy infantry-based army. I might do 2 warriors. And javelin hurlers. Oh, we don't have access to horses. I swear I checked before the stream started and that we had horses. Okay, the Alaborogas have all the horses. So we'll make do with infantry. Yeah, chariots in the Swiss Alps. Command Delicious points out is not super good thing. No, this is not the in-game music. This music is actually I'll show the splash screen again. It's by the great Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at Compatech. He has all of his music available for streamers to use with attribution under Creative Commons. He has a really good Celtic music playlist. Yeah, shout out to him. Actually, for credit purposes, I should list the tracks I'm using. So, Achaidh Cheide, I think, is one of them. And then Folk Round, Heavy Heart, Hidden Past, Moorland, and Skye Cuillin are the tracks of his that I'm using. I mean, Hannibal did march elephants across the Alps. I mean, I think only like 3 or 4 of them made it or something, so that might not be the best point of comparison. So, yes, we are alive in Gaul, believe it or not. So, 1 elephant. We're hearing 1 elephant. We're hearing maybe as many as 4. Reports are still coming in from northern Italy. Stay tuned for more. The other thing I try to think about early on is what my first law changes I'm going to go for are. So if you want to civilize your society quickly, banning human sacrifice and minting coins, which does require that you get a source of precious metals, are pretty smart. I think we're probably going to try for the centralization law first, because it does weaken the clans, but in weakening the clans, they also are less likely to rebel. Although, a strategy I've been thinking about trying out that might be useful since we're starting as kind of a smaller power, is if we get some open hearings, so we can increase the number of clan chiefs. That basically gives us an extra army. It's also an extra chief to keep happy, but it might end up being worth it. Diplomacy laws, not really that important from what I've found. Ownership of land is a good thing to switch over to. Not philosophically, I'm actually hugely against it, but gameplay wise, once a lot of your tribesmen start promoting to freemen, it makes sense. And then absolute authority actually lets us transition into a monarchy, I believe. And we might go for democracy, actually. We might actually try to found a republic, which that requires the East Council Powers Law is under Council Laws. Yeah, so we can't get that until we're at Civic Tech 5, and we'll found the Helvetian democracy. All right, tech looks good, religion looks good, economy. Have the money. Right. Let's see if we can do this. Good. It increases monthly loyalty, and that's actually really where it is. Transaction taxation is actually really good if you start off as a small power, because what this does is it increases the slaves needed to produce surplus goods in any of your provinces, but the minimum number of slaves required for a surplus normally is 15. We don't even have that in our entire country, much less in any given province or any given city. So it makes a lot more sense to take that 15% extra commerce income until we get more slaves, which is something we'll be doing shortly here. Okay, so I think everything is pretty set. We've got our armies under construction. Thought I built the second. Oh, he got attached army up. Not good, because I want him to become loyal to another clan chief. Alright. So since these guys are heavily armored, I'm gonna put them under this young Coilus Ambronus. There are heavy infantry, so we are going to call them Oaths. Anti-type. Alright. So at least we have a slightly larger army than any of our clan chiefs currently. That's kind of what I try to do. I try to keep my army at least one level higher than my highest clan chief. Okay, so the Hugaini, who are going to be our first target, they're in a defensive league with the Lepantia. They have 8 cohorts. Lepantia has 9. They definitely outnumber us currently. We're going to need some more allies. Possibly the Sequani, even though I believe they were also traitors during the Gaulish Wars, but... Alliance with the Sequani. What about these? Savi. Okay. So we've got some good allies. We'll probably conquer the Ambari. We're definitely going to conquer the Allobroges, and then all the other Helvetic tribes. That should put us in a pretty good spot. First, 14. So we should be able to have all of our armies on one tile and just march straight in with our full strength. Yeah. I don't know why he would build just archers. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Let's go ahead and set up our tactics too. So for these guys, I definitely think that bottleneck is going to be the smartest tactic. Got 75% efficiency. It's good against shock action, which our enemies are likely to do. It's bad against skirmishing and cavalry skirmish. I don't think they have horses, so I don't think we worry about cavalry skirmish. We'll see how that goes. Guys, put them on skirmish. Skirmish is pretty good unless you're fighting Romans, because, yeah, triplex axes is only going to be relevant when we're fighting Romans, and I don't find that other countries use deception that much. So... guys could really go either way. I'm on bottleneck. Okay, so start fabricating goods. 50 power away. Danny want an alliance. Have to break. Rogue want to get. The Idui? Oh, they will. There you go. Okay. I actually forget how many alliances we get before. Diplomatically. Okay, so we start with 4. So we're at 4. Get the map. Got strong allies close by. So when we go to war, we should be in a pretty good spot. Alright. To figure out a better solution for chat right now, because the place that I've actually got chat pulled up is the place to look at it. So is that our chieftain? I need to refamiliar. Okay, so Dunacus Marganus is our chief. Might be bad for him. The daughter was born. Get a new invention. So let's. I'm looking a little bit light. Go ahead and get the tribesman output, because for now that'll give us money and manpower.